Hello year ones, welcome to our story of the week. Our book this week is a non-fiction book all about space, and that's why I'm going to be reading it in the dark today so we can feel a bit spacey. It's called Little Kid's First Big Book of Space by Catherine Hughes and illustrated by David Aguirre. So I'm going to turn to our contents page and I'm going to find this header called Looking Up from Earth on page 10. And on this chapter, the header I can see is all about the sun. So I'm going to read you lots of information. The sun is a star. It is the closest star to Earth, the planet that you live on. The sun is very hot. Its warmth and light keeps plants and animals on Earth alive, including you. The sun, planets, moons and different kinds of space rocks are all part of our solar system, and the sun is at the centre of this solar system. And this caption here next to the picture says, "This blasts off the surface of the sun and it's called a solar flare." I don't know if you can see a solar flare from that picture. Wow. Okay, the next page is all about how the Earth travels around the sun. Earth travels around the sun in a big circle called an orbit. It takes a whole year for Earth to travel all the way around the sun. A year on Earth is the time it takes Earth to orbit the sun. So how many times have you been all the way around the sun? It's how old you are, because every year is the time it takes for the Earth to go around. So if you're 5 years old, you've been around the sun 5 times. If you're 6 years old, you've been around the sun 6 times. I'm not going to tell you how many times I've been around the sun, but it's nearly 40. Okay, the next header which I would like to turn to, I'm going to go back to the contents page, is called Earth's Neighbourhood, and that's on page 32. So today we're going to read more about the planets, and that's Earth's neighbourhood. So you can see the 8 planets in our solar system now, and they all orbit around the sun. It's not just Earth. And I'm going to read about each planet as we go along. So the first planet that's closest to the sun is Mercury. And here's our header in our book that says Mercury. Mercury is the planet closest to the sun. It is the smallest of the 8 big planets. It orbits the sun faster than any other planet. 1 year on Earth, the time it takes to orbit the sun is 365 days. But on Mercury, a year on Mercury is only 88 days. So can you imagine a planet in a PowerPoint, and that's going around the sun faster than our planet, than Earth. During the day on Mercury, it gets very hot, and at night it gets very cold. And I'm going to read you this caption here about Mercury. Mercury is hard to see from Earth because it is so close to the bright sun. And it also tells us that Mercury does not have a moon. Okay, and the next planet in our solar system is Venus. That's the second planet. Can you find it on the PowerPoint? Point to Venus. There it is. Venus is the hottest planet in our solar system. It has an atmosphere of thick clouds. The clouds hold in heat like a blanket, making Venus very hot. And this caption tells us that Mercury and Venus are the only big planets in our solar system that do not have moons. It says, can you find Venus in the sky? It looks like the brightest star in the sky, but it is a planet, not a star. So it's not clear enough tonight. There's too many clouds covering up the stars outside my window tonight. But if you look up in the sky on a clear night and see if you can find what you think is the brightest star, and it might not be a star, it might actually be Venus. Okay. And the next planet in our solar system is Earth. And we've already learnt a little bit about Earth. And of course, we know about a lot about our planet Earth as well. So remember, that takes 365 days to orbit around the sun. And it's another rocky planet. So there is Earth. Okay, our next planet is Mars, which is the 4th planet from the sun. Can you point to Mars on the PowerPoint? There it is. Mars is more like Earth than any other planet in the solar system. Scientists think there may have been flowing rivers on Mars a long time ago. And scientists are curious about where the river water is now. It may be frozen beneath the planet. And I have a video about Mars. So this next page tells us that several spaceships have travelled to Mars carrying equipment to explore the planet. And the robots are called rovers. And one of the most recent rovers was called Curiosity, and it's taken photos. So let's watch the videos that it's taken. See if we can find them here. This is fascinating. So this is the rover Curiosity. And rover has taken photographs and videos. This is what an eclipse looks like on Mars. Do you remember Mars has 2 potato-shaped moons? Could you see them? Wow. That's the paths of the Martian moons, Phobos and Deimos, crossing in the front of the sun. And that was actually seen by the robot Curiosity. And this is a video of Mars's atmosphere. Wow. So it's very, very cloudy on Mars because there's only a tiny bit of water vapour. Okay, so I found that fascinating. There is a new robot, a new rover that's been sent to Mars called Perseverance, and it should be landing soon. So look out on the news channels on BBC, and you might hear news of a new rover landing on Mars. Very exciting. Our next planet is the first gas planet called Jupiter. Jupiter is our solar system's biggest planet. It's so big that all the other planets in the solar system could fit inside it. The huge storm on Jupiter is called the Great Red Spot, and the storm is like a hurricane on Earth. But Jupiter's storm has been blowing for hundreds of years. Isn't that amazing? And here is a picture of Jupiter, because you can't see it on the PowerPoint, but you might be able to see the Great Red Spot, a picture of the Great Red Spot here. Okay, so that's the first of the giant planets in our solar system. That was Jupiter. Our next planet is called... Do you know? You might be able to know. It's the one with the rings. Can you point to it? Some other planets have rings, but this planet has got the biggest rings of all. It's known for having them. It's Saturn. There it is. So, look at the sparkly rings around Saturn. Saturn's rings are the biggest and brightest in our solar system. The rings are made up of billions of bits of icy rocks, and some bits are as tiny as specks of dust, and others are the size of huge mountains. Wow. And that's a picture of Saturn, and it says Saturn has thousands of rings. Wow, made up of dust and ice. Saturn has at least 53 moons, and here is a picture of just a few of those moons. I don't know if you can see. At least 53 moons. Wow. Okay, the next planet in our solar system. Can you see it? It's called Uranus. Can you see the ring is going around a different way. So Uranus is tipped onto its side. Scientists think that a long time ago, some huge space object the size of a planet may have crashed into Uranus, and that crash caused Uranus to tip onto its side. It says Uranus spins in the opposite direction that Earth does. And this other caption about Uranus says, it takes 84 Earth years for Uranus to orbit the Sun. So do you remember it takes us 1 year to orbit around the Sun? That's 365 days. Well, Uranus is a lot slower than Earth. It will be orbiting around the Sun. Every 8 years it does a full orbit. And our next planet is the last planet in the solar system. Neptune. Can you see the last planet there? Neptune is further from the Sun than any of the other big planets. The weather on this planet is wild. Winds blow more than 1,000 miles per hour. Do you remember the Great Red Spot on Jupiter? Neptune also had a big storm like that. On Neptune it was called the Great Dark Spot. Neptune has many storms that come and go. Just like Jupiter, Neptune is known as a gas giant. And here is the gas giant, and there's a label there saying the Great Dark Spot. Wow. Okay. And that is as much as I'm going to read you from our book today, because there are, lots of pages. 127 pages. And we will be doing more about this book in our English lessons this week. I hope you enjoyed it, year ones. Bye!